about the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 732, Threed.
Hey, there you go.
Come on, that's what they should have called it.
I like it.
Yeah, no.
They should have went all Fast and Furious on
right.
Threed.
They had an opportunity. Bad Boys.
Wasted.
Bad Boys for Life. It's like, but you know, this is the third one, right?
Oh, yeah.
third?
Like,
Like,
so wasted, yeah.
So I guess let's go around the virtual table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
And this is Tom, and joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube, although everybody's via the magic of ZoomTube, it's Kolby Mac. Hey, Kolby, how's it going?
Yo, what up? It's your boy, Kolby Mac, and I'm finally back after a way too long hiatus on Real Spoilers.
It's been a while. Man, that energy, though, is just electric. Good to see you.
It is. I don't believe that we can ring in spring without Kolby being on the mic with y'all. Think about it.
I like it.
well,
That's a good, yeah.
right? This is typically around, even if it's a year or two apart, but like
Yeah.
this is what we feel like. I'm coming in to help you guys clean up the pod. All right?
He's like the groundhog if he sees his shadow, but if Kolby Mac comes in the pod, the good weather's coming our way.
Good weather.
So-
6
coming
more
our way.
weeks of podcasting.
That's right.
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
6 more decades of podcasting.
All right. Well, let's,
Well, I
we're
mean,
still
Tom
doing this
won't
in
be
si-
around, but
Yeah, right. Yeah, we might still be here.
Yeah, you got an
So when you
outside
got-
chance, but not
When
me.
you get to show 1,000, you'll see what that's like.
Yeah.
It's gonna change the world.
I gotta tell you,
It's close.
So before we dig in, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That's always helpful. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. The group we call the League of Show Sharers because we're hoping you will share an episode with your friends in your social media feed. It's the easiest, cheapest thing you can do to help the show. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week include Phil Timon, Chris Valls, Travis Tewitt, Tammy Lynn Powers Betts, Ralph Tribble. By the way, congratulations. He got engaged.
hey, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Gabriel Lugo, Julianne Jordan, Chris Magic Man, Josh Rosen, Christopher Rex, Heather Sachs, Edit Photo Gamer, Spoiler Piece Theater, Matt Naglia, Invasion of the Remake, James Install, Ronnie Castle, David Rojas, In Session Film, Feel and Film, Dissect That Film, Nostalgia Cast, Kolby Mac, Skirting the
Brad
Rule.
Hyan rule has been
Yeah.
averted.
Yeah.
Well, at least until next week.
Yeah. Binge Movies, Mike, and Oscar, Ryan Terry from the Forza Crowd podcast, and Geek to Me Radio. So thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it. Finally, don't forget, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Real Spoilers, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra.
And we can say that yesterday, Kevin was kind enough to join us as a special guest on his own show's Patreon. We have finished the Christmas horror movies have been done.
It was nice of Matt Basler to allow him to do that.
It was a
I
difficult
did.
conversation I had to have with Matt, but we got him. We got him there. It was fine.
I did ask. I said now, I mean, I know it's up to Matt, but
But we recorded Black Christmas. We touched on pretty much all three of them. The less said about the 2019 version, the better. We did touch on the 2006 and the 1974, one of the main focus. But Christmas horror is over in March, just in time for
well, there's still
St.
2 more
Patrick's Day.
episodes. They're done.
I guess that's true.
recording, But join the Patreon, and the last 2 episodes will drop, and then we'll move to apparently non-holiday horror movies next.
Maybe we'll see.
Do they have
We'll
those?
figure it out. Yeah, they have a couple.
Okay.
Feels like they don't.
Also, real quick, don't forget we have a YouTube channel, so you can find these episodes on YouTube as well, so you can stare into our deep blue eyes.
Hey,
do
we're
any
at-
of us have blue eyes?
No, I don't.
I do.
I know. Oh, okay.
100
I definitely don't.
195 subscribers. We're so close to
We're
200.
right there.
If you guys can bump us over the line, that'd be
Chipping
great.
away. Chipping
Then we
away.
get we can get a vanity URL, right? Isn't that how
Well,
that works?
apparently we're youtube.com/ with the new system. They made us type @real spoilers.
That's
What a
annoying.
stupid vanity URL.
Yeah, that's dumb.
I'm
glad
gonna
we
check
got
it
the
real
clip.
quick. We'll do
I'm
it
glad we got
live.
the clip out and under
Yeah.
the wire.
You cannot go to youtube.com/real spoilers. It has to be @real spoilers. So
That's
I mean
lame.
that makes it so hard to if people to
That
like.
just makes me feel like I'm generating an email. I don't like that.
Yeah.
but
And do
seriously,
you spell at or do you use this symbol?
the @ sign, the @ sign. But I mean,
That's
if people are
dumb.
thinking, let's go to youtube.com/, no, it's literally you have to do @real spoilers. You'd think that they'd be like, okay, we get it. If you don't put the @ symbol, it's
Right.
a username. But nope.
That's
Lame.
remarkably stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That must be reserved for the other real spoilers. That's why.
The real,
yeah,
the
right.
real
right.
spoilers.
yes.
Yeah.
the real spoilers.
And all I can think is like, it's YouTube. These are the same people that thought that they could come up with YouTube Red and it would not be at all confused with RedTube. Right? like no. Here's how I envision that meeting going. Hey guys, thanks for coming today. We're going to unveil the new name of our YouTube paid platform. It's called YouTube Red. And then immediately, like, all the men in the room are like, but I don't.
You know
Yeah,
what?
I see, everyone
I
never
don't want to
mind.
say that
Just-
out
yeah.
loud. I'm just going to hold my tongue.
Good job.
There's a here's your wrestling corner for
Oh,
today.
boy.
There was a
Ding,
tag.
ding.
Thank you. Just recently, there were two wrestlers that formed a tag team, and
oh boy,
Are
Is
we
that
still
on
talking about
RedTube?
porn?
Yeah.
nope. Well, we're gonna get there. They it's unbelievable. Nobody saw the name when they said it on TV. They were called the Banger Bros, and it got on TV, and everybody watching it are just like, that's a joke, right? Like they're not actually going to be called that. Their name was on the graphic. They had a logo. It was
They just-
everything.
They just really
With-
like club music.
That's exactly it. And then within a week, maybe 2 weeks, that name was gone. Immediately, that was no longer the name of the tag team.
Well, hopefully, you got
Probably
at least
because there's a
keep-
porn site that was like, hey, that's our name.
Also, probably true. It's kind of the way that I think PBR sued John Cena over a logo. They're like,
wow.
that's our logo. What are you doing? He's like, well, okay, you can have it back, I guess. PBR. So this
kind
movie.
of them.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, we always love to take a little detour for porn. So
You're saying wrestling corner, but we both know nobody likes that.
there's always time for porn. That's
right.
So
Creed
3.
Man, okay. Is Rocky 3 where they go full superhero, or is that 4? Like, is Rocky 3 still kind of like a drama with boxing in it, or is it?
Here's how I kind of look at it. Rocky 1 is an art house movie,
Yes.
right? Like, I
Yes.
mean, it's very 70s cinema,
Yes.
right? Rocky 2 is basically a remake of Rocky 1, but more is like a mainstream film.
And
they
it's got
let
a
'em
Hollywood
win.
sheen to it.
Yeah, and they let them win, right?
Yeah.
Like the first one, because like that's what made the first one an art house movie. I think is that they don't. It's a moral victory, right?
Sure.
And then 3 is like full Hollywood sheen, borderline Saturday morning cartoon.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then
Yeah, because you've got
4
Mr. T doing the whole thing.
Yeah, and then 4 is superhero,
Yes.
and then 5 is dog,
Except for the end.
except for that last fight.
That's right.
I've always
last-
said
That's right.
Rocky 5 is the Godfather 3 pre-coda cut.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and like that last fight is great, but
Yes.
to get to that last fight is a slog.
It's a
and
slog.
Then,
Yeah.
and then 6, they kind of go back to their art house roots,
And then we go.
and then you move into Creed,
And-
which Creed 1 is definitely art house.
I was just going to
Yeah.
say, so I just rewatched all of them, and Creed 1 feels a lot like Rocky 1.
It does.
Is he coming off? So is he coming off Fruitville Station, or is he coming off Black Panther?
The director and the actor?
Yeah.
I
I mean-
Fruitvale Station is
Yeah.
he's coming off of.
But they haven't
Right?
gone to Black Panther yet, right?
Black
Well,
Panther's
Fruitvale Station is pretty early too, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
2015, so you're 3 years before Black Panther, yeah.
Okay. I just think that there is something about those two dudes. We're talking about Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, that they've got that synergy Like they are in sync with each other, and I think that when they are working together, because those first two Creed movies, the second one does kind of start to veer into later Rocky territory.
He didn't direct the second one either, though.
But he wrote it, right?
Story by. The screenplay apparently was still by Rock.
Yeah,
was that
he has
right?
a co-writing credit. Yeah, but I mean, he got the story for Creed. But yeah, he's just a producer because I guess he made the first one. But no, he was, I think, working on Black Panther. And
that makes sense.
Had to hand it off.
I think this movie's fantastic. I had a great time with this movie.
Loved this movie.
But it does have a completely different feel.
I liked this movie. I did not love it as much as the first two.
I think that's fair.
See, the second one I did not like, and going back and watching it as a part of the trilogy, I didn't mind it as much, but I remember talking about it on the podcast, and after I loved the first one, I mean, just absolutely loved the first one, and watching it again, I'm like, this first one is amazing. It's just so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just, the second one seemed like kind of a fall from that, and it did feel like it was going a little bit too cartoony or something. I don't know what it was, but at the time I didn't really care for it. And this one to me was a return to that kind of like what the first one was doing. I loved the backstory. I thought it was very clever, the way that they went back and like kind of, I don't know if you'd say retcon things, but they gave him this whole backstory and introduced a whole character that never even came up.
Well, I
they
think
tied it into why he was, in the home in the first one and everything.
And they give a good reason for why he hasn't been brought up, right? Like,
yeah.
the
reveal was compelling, and you're waiting for that reveal. And finally,
I think the problem I had with this movie is I don't feel like this is going to sound crazy, I think, for some people. I don't feel like they made Jonathan Major's character scary enough.
Oh,
okay.
really?
Okay. So that's
go ahead. From an in the ring standpoint, right? We see him as a kid, and obviously he is a next level badass.
But now
he's been in jail for 18 years, and we never really establish that he's like in Rocky 3, like. Clubber Lang is a next level threat that on paper there's no way Rocky should beat this guy, right?
Right.
And and even Rocky's scared of him. Like I never got that sort of vibe from this movie. I never got that Creed was fully scared of this guy. I never got that this guy was maybe gonna kill him. And I think we needed some maybe some footage of him still fighting in prison to show that he had really been staying up on things, or another fight where he I know we get the fight with Felix.
I was going to say that fight with Felix told me everything I needed to know. This guy is going to kill you if he has the chance.
I don't think. And
he should have knocked him out in the first round.
Yeah, it should have been 1-2 done, and also I don't think Felix looked all that threatening.
Here's the problem that they run into, right?
Felix was the world heavyweight champion. That didn't
work.
Yeah.
When Jonathan Major, because we don't see him without
they deliberately you don't see his shirt off until he finally gets into the real ring, which I thought was smart.
He's supposed to be several years removed and retired.
Right.
And you think he's going to look like, a little bit out of shape.
But this dude
not
goes,
the case.
This dude goes to his agent and goes, okay, I'm going to get in this ridiculous shape. You were going to give me at least 3 movies where I can show this off. Because I'm going to be a bodybuilding model. I am going to be a boxer. I'm going to be a villain.
I'm going to pull a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He gives, to me, a next level performance in this movie.
And this is what I wanted in Quantumania. He was way more threatening of a villain
I
than
don't
Quantumania.
disagree.
Even though I feel like they didn't set him up to be threatening enough.
Yes. Yeah, which is ridiculous.
This is the best
he's a
Kane
Marvel
variant.
villain. Yeah. How on earth is he a better villain in a boxing movie than an MCU movie? I do love
that Jonathan that Damien could be a variant of Kang. I think that's kind of fantastic.
They could actually spin that in there in Earth 6-1 whatever.
In the Council of the Caves. They should have shown.
They should have had Damien. They should have figured it out. But I get what you mean, though, Tom. He's not the classic villain that we've been taught to interpret in these type of films. And I contend. So I've only seen Rocky 1, 2, 4, and that's it. I skipped 3 completely. I don't know where I was at when 3 came out. But I didn't watch it. But remember, there before when there was still like a little bit of apprehensiveness with regards to, do we continue the Creed franchise past 2? And remember, the original storyline is that whoever the antagonist to Adonis Creed was going to be like, oh, is this going to be the son of Clover Lake? So I remember hearing that. And I'm glad that they scrapped that all together. And I think that the insertion of Diamond Damian Anderson, which is a great name, really does work. He's a different type of antagonist. I contend that in the first Rocky, the antagonist wasn't supposed to be Apollo Creed. Rocky is trying to push past and beat himself.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, sure.
And that's what makes those movies work. And of course, yes, when you get to 4, like I said, it turns full on superhero, Fast and Furious, and then you have the more pronounced villains and things of that nature. In the first Creed film, Creed is his biggest adversary. He has to be able to push past that. And you
the name, right? Out of the shadow.
Exactly. And I thought that this was good. And I'll say this, if anything, what I got in this film is that Damien is a much more cunning adversary. Even though he's been locked up for more than half his life, the biggest thing, and I've heard people say this, is that there is a fear that he would either make a move or do something violent or like externally aggressive towards Bianca or their kid. Everything he did was engineered, which make it much more calculating and menacing, in my opinion.
Is he is like a Machiavellian villain in this movie. I love
I would say you say, Kolby, even though he was locked up for half his life, and I would say because he was locked up for half his life.
It's a lot of time to orchestrate your return.
He plays this character 2 different ways, and both I think he is brilliant. So we've got the first half of the movie he gets out of jail and he is very humble with Adonis, and
he's kind of meek.
He's like, thank you for the opportunity. Like, I appreciate you doing that. Like,
I'm like, what is this? Because I didn't watch the trailers, but I know they're going to fight at some point. And I'm like, how is this? This guy seems too nice. Like, even when Duke is like, hey man, this is a bad idea. Like, and you know that Duke. I don't want to call him Duke Jr., but that's what they keep calling. It's his name.
Yeah, right.
Duke.
He knows. He sees it. He's like, this is not okay. And you can even let it go a little bit.
Little Duke.
Oh, Little Duke.
Yeah.
When
that feels worse than Duke Jr.
I thought so too.
That's what they call him.
I'm just going to call him Duke. When we see Damien in the ring with Felix for the first time, there are moments where he's throwing punches that are vicious punches, and he's doing them on purpose. And you can think, okay, he's angry. Right? He's been locked up for 18 years. He's angry, so this is an outlet for that anger, and you can excuse that. But then we get the reveal of that this has been a plan and a plot the entire time. You're like,
well, I didn't even look at it as anger as much as it was like he was like, this is my chance to prove how tough I am. Like, I have to make
or to put on a show in front of Adonis to be like, when the plan comes to fruition, he's like, hey man, this guy can.
Yeah,
but
if he wants a shot, he's got to prove he's ready. He doesn't and he says it point blank. He doesn't have time, right? He's early to mid 30s. I guess
he's got some time.
Yeah, so that's the part that
not in the professional box.
Right. Yeah, so the flashback took place in 2002, and I can't necessarily say that. Hey, are we matched up after that flashback? Are we now in 2023 when this film is being released? And we're just assuming that it's been 20-something years, because that would put Creed at like closer to 40. I mean, he's 36 in real life.
But he has, right? So he's been fighting. Yeah. He has like a 15-1 record or something. I mean, he's been fighting. He's been the champ for a long time. So, there is a big time jump that takes place. These guys are older now, and Creed isn't going to retire in his prime. I mean, he's retired. He's done with boxing.
And it makes sense as to why, because he saw his dad die in the ring,
Right.
Or at least
boxers don't have an old-timers day.
Yeah. No, they don't. But I also think think
for
that's
George Foreman.
Yeah, true. That's fair. Sugar Ray Leonard, he's still bopping around on there.
Mike Tyson
fighting.
Mike Tyson,
days, which is crazy.
That's one guy. Even when they're just like, this is just a sparring match. No, it's not.
Not for him.
Thank you.
No,
I'm not getting that. Mike Tyson, you're out your damn mind.
But think about it. Like Mike Tyson lost so many years in and out of jail.
Sure.
In and out of like drug abuse. So like, I mean, think about it. If he really took care of his body, took care of his mind, how many more fights and opportunities to be able to really legitimize this? I mean, I still think that he's a top 10 boxer of all time. Sure. But it's just like, he probably thinks about like, man, what I've missed. So having that be the catalyst for what propels Damien and like really seeing it. I mean, like I said, Kevin, you didn't get a chance to see the trailer. The trailer was painting something very different. It was setting us up that something happened in a sparring match against Chavez, and that was like, yo, Yeah, so like that's what it was really selling to us. So it is interesting how trailers try to manipulate the expectations of an audience, and I thought it worked really, really well that we got something different. Because if you think about it, even though this is the third film, it plays a lot like the first film in that, all right, why did Rocky get a shot? And then that's exactly what Damien says, like it kind of happened like what your dad is. He was so calculated. He said, yo, I know the soft spot that you have for me. Obviously, he knows that you have the guilt. That's why you pretended all this stuff didn't happen. And I think it made sense. This is the shortest film out of all their Creed films. And I think there was a little bit of an opportunity to be able to sell that more in the second act. It's like, I want to see more of the promoter Donnie, not Don King, pretty much sell the fact that, hey, listen, I've lost my prize fighter's, best chance with Drago in this super big match. I really need to figure out a way to not just say out loud, I'm going to go in and get this guy. Like, no, let me really sell it. Let me work it. Give me another little montage where I can sit here and say, Damien's a guy that had it all and lost it.
I think that they did as best of a job as they could coming up with a reason. That being said, I have a very hard time believing he would ever have a title shot.
But so here's the thing though,
but you're forgetting the fact of how crooked boxing is.
Thank you. Also true.
There's no rules and system to
there's
but they even say, I mean, I think when Donnie's talking to Felix and his mom, he's like, look, we've got the next guy in line is still recovering from his last fight. We've got this guy here who's not ready to go. I've got a guy. We've got this date. We've got all this money on the line. We've got a no-name guy. And I think even Donnie thinks this is going to be a cakewalk for you. Like, this guy is an unproven boxer. You're going to put on a show, do your job, which is what Donnie says, and we're going to walk away with this money.
And they will
make me hate it, but
they will do this in boxing. They will take fighters who
tuners.
Yeah, who are good, but not quite good enough. And you want a guy that's good enough to give a good fight, but not good enough to win.
Right.
And so they'll do it to pad the records. And there's a really good episode of This American Life about this. And there was a short-lived Showtime TV show based on This American Life. And I think it's available on either Prime or Hulu. And the first episode follows one of these boxers, and they picked him for a Showtime fight against this guy, and he was supposed to. I mean, it was not rigged. Like, let me make this clear: they're not rigging the fights, but they're. Remember that there's a line from Rocky 2 where Mickey's like, "They was hand-picked."
Oh yeah.
And this guy, wins. And
oh wait, no, it was an MMA fight.
No. This is boxing. This is boxing for sure. And this guy wins, and now he's.
What do we do?
He's elevated because now he's got a belt or a ranking that he didn't have before, and so things like this do happen. Especially, they never said this, but the other advantage to having Felix fight
Dame,
there we go, is that they get to keep all the money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're not picking someone from outside of their boxing gym, and so they own both. It's like you're going to the Super Bowl and you own both the teams.
You're good.
There's so much betting that happens. These guys are from the same gym. I don't get how they can even do that.
I think that happens a lot, especially with the promotions. Because there's no organized governing body with boxing. You just have the safety, like boxing
they could
commission.
Seriously. I mean, but if you work for the same company, one guy can take a fall, and they
look at Jake. Look at Jake Paul. Jake Paul is a prime example.
He doesn't fight people in the same gym. He fights other people from outside.
You think
he's fighting them outside, but he controls how the money is distributed.
Yeah.
So it's like win or lose. That's the thing. Win or lose, you already know what you're going to get.
But that's different knowing what the purse is. I'm just saying that they picked these guys trained together. He's his sparring mate. Oh, now there's going to be a heavyweight world title, and there's all these people in Vegas putting odds on it. It's like that's crazy to me that they would let that happen. But
to Tom's point, I think CBS was trying to get into the MMA game, and they brought in Kimbo Slice, who at the time was like the internet sensation and all this other stuff, and they picked a guy who were just like, you know what, he's gonna walk right through him. And then this guy Seth, I wish I remember this guy's name.
Myers
came out, not Seth Myers.
Yeah,
this guy came out and knocked out Kimbo Slice.
All it takes is one hit, right?
In the first round, and you could tell the guys at CBS were like, That was okay. Well, we're just gonna go with this. This is on live TV. We're just gonna run with it.
I think the problem that the Creed movies are having as they progress is just that boxing just doesn't matter.
That is boxing is a fallow period. The only people that get any sort of attention are those two jerk off brothers.
But it's coming back now because of the YouTube.
The Banger Brothers?
No.
The Banger Bros. Yep, that's what it is.
But YouTube is revitalizing boxing. It's all the YouTubers doing it. And I think that's what, I mean, if you look, Michael Buffer was in the first two Creeds. He's not anymore. Now they're at Crypto Arena with whatever that FZS, whatever that thing is in the middle.
I don't know who this guy is with the gray dreads, and he kind of sounds like a Buffer. Like, is there a cousin Buffer that we don't know about?
There is another Buffer, but he's with the UFC.
Yeah, but this is new. But this is like the new what boxing is. So it's interesting that it's been revitalized in a way to where it's starting to matter, but it's to a younger crowd, and it's just different.
Are you talking about the ring announcer guy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because there's two. You get two that are both like desperately in search of their own catchphrase.
Yes. Yeah. It's fight night.
Man, it sure was on time though. From Crypto Arena.
So the Damian Creed fight is in LA Stadium.
Yeah, it's at Dodger Stadium.
A Dodger Stadium. Yeah, that's where the Dodgers play, which I thought was, if that was filmed live, I also don't think they could fill a stadium.
That's CG background.
That's CG. If anything, like they're both Marvel guys. They say, "Hey, Kevin, can we borrow that dome?" Like,
sure.
CG place, because even when you get to that point and you have this very surrealist anime inspired fight, like there's no need for people, right? All those people. There's only 25 people there, and then they just duplicated them.
You can tell when they're coming down the aisle, it's the people are there next to them, and then everything else is just. But it looks good. You can't. I mean, you only know because you know. It's not like it.
I also don't think a boxing match could sell out Dodger Stadium.
No.
I think the right boxing match can sell out Dodger Stadium.
You think so?
So, I mean, it's not a football stadium. What, you're talking about Dodger Stadium that has 25, 30,000?
No, but then you got to think the seats. They're going to be on the field as well.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like,
you understand the Latino community in LA, they still love boxing.
That's fair.
I guarantee you, if you get what's
Canelo?
Like this if you get Canelo or the big super fight, I mean, granted they're not heavyweights, but Ryan Garcia and what's the dude from New York, a little smaller, Tank Davis, right? Tank Gervonta Davis. You get them two, they can do an LAC. So the thing is, I think boxing is never going to go away. It's hard to celebrate the heavyweight classic, what we had, growing up with and hearing about it from the early 1900s and then the 50s and 60s, so we're not going to get the heavyweight class like we used to, just because there's not enough money. There's not enough money into it, which is weird,
Yeah, I think people of
Mayweather makes as much as he makes.
That side, I think also it's a dangerous sport. I think, and so it's like.
Yeah, but the UFC is selling out arenas.
Yeah, but those fighters aren't making money either.
That's true. That's also fair.
And before you can actually kind of make some money, you've been in 30, 40 fights.
Yeah, and your head's all messed up.
Yeah, that payoff is that's not all there. I don't need that cauliflower here either.
And there's and like you were saying, Kolby, there's no system. There's no if you do this and you get to here, then you go to this next level. It's totally, no matter how good you are, it's still going to be about who you know and which promoter you sign with.
Who's going to make the most money for the promoters?
Yeah. And so it's
at least in the Creed movies, you don't have to worry about weight classes. Those don't exist.
That's also true.
Tony
just keeps winning belts no matter what. Clay's featherweight, I got it. Lightweight, I got it.
It was I know it's never really mattered in the Rocky movies. You see the people Rocky's up against and everything. But I was I have a hard time. Okay, Michael B. Jordan gets in amazing shape for this movie. He's ripped. He's jacked. He looks awesome. But Jonathan Majors is huge. And it really... I just have a hard time believing they're in the same weight class.
There's about a 25 to 30 pound difference between he and that.
Easily.
Even though they're similar in height and stuff like that, but just Jonathan Majors, he just stocks it on. And I mean,
exactly.
This guy, he's one of the greatest physical actors that we have in this generation. And I'll make a bold statement here. Since Jamie Foxx and Scarlett Johansson, this guy's going to get a double Oscar nom for Best Supporting Actor in this film and Best Lead Actor in Magazine Dreams that comes out later this year.
Okay.
Oh, dang. Okay.
I'm booking it.
Back to the weight class stuff, I feel like the Rocky movies at least initially addressed it because it's been a long time since I've seen it, but was that one of the struggles in the first Rocky is him trying to make weight.
But he only it's actually I was thinking about that the same thing, Tom, is he only fights for the belt twice.
Yeah, and then after that they're really
I mean, I guess he loses
names.
the title to Clubber Lang.
So I guess you could kind of sign off and say, hey, since we're not fighting for like titles and stuff like that, I don't mind that 20, 40 pound difference.
Yeah, you could say it's a catchweight.
Yeah,
like,
Baby Drago in the second
Clubber.
one, that guy's like, it's
that guy is huge.
He's massive. Like just his upper torso's 200 pounds.
That's what so it's just, I know that it's never really mattered, but I was just like going into it without seeing it. I'm like, how is he going to get to be in that same class to go for the belt? But anyway, it looks great though.
It is interesting to look. We look at you could actually look at the parallels of Rocky 3 and Creed 3, and they do run together, right? In Rocky 3, Rocky's the champ, and he's, doing the kissing babies and shaking hands and doing the exhibition match with Thunder Lips, who surprisingly is Hulk Hogan, but wasn't Hulk Hogan yet. Like, he had not broken out as Hulk Hogan in that.
What?
No,
yeah, I don't know about that.
I wasn't. I'm telling you right now.
I think this is why I didn't watch the third one. I watched No Holds Barred.
I'm the only person here who saw Rocky 3 in the theater.
Right.
Yes.
And I think we can safely say I don't give two f***s about wrestling.
It's fair to say, yes.
And when Thunder Lips came out, I was instantly like, oh, Hulk Hogan's in this movie.
He was Hulk. Okay. So, when he filmed the movie,
he just set you up for this more than Vince McMahon sets up a feud in the WWE.
I gotta tell you, Vince McMahon ain't setting up nothing right now.
I know, but you
setting up trying not to get sued.
This is like Joe off the top rope, Tom.
So when they film Rocky 3, he's Hulk Hogan in name. When he's filming Rocky 3, he is Hulk Hogan in name only. He is wrestling for Vern Gagne in the AWA. He has not become the Hulkamania Hulk Hogan yet. Now,
I don't know why I would have known who he was.
But, okay, you knew who he was because in the time that he filmed that role and then the movie came out, Vince McMahon saw him in that movie in like a clip or something and said, Vince McMahon Jr. said, get me him. Brought him into the company, turned him into Hulk Hogan, and then the movie came out.
Hold on. That's crazy. So yeah, Rocky 3 was in 82. WrestleMania was 85.
He was not Hulk Hogan yet.
Wow.
When he filmed that role, because even if you look at him, right, Hulk Hogan that we know doesn't have chest hair. He has chest.
I never looked that close.
But I'm saying,
Take your word on that one.
He films the role when he's working.
Wasn't until 89.
Correct, and 89 is Hulkamania at its peak.
Jeez.
But yes, he is wrestling for. So Vern Gagne, who owned the AWA, had him on his payroll, and they knew this movie was coming out. And Vern Gagne was like, "I want cuts from the movie. I want cuts from your merchandise. I want cuts from your Japan tour." And Hogan was like, "No." And then Vince McMahon saw him in that clip, Vince McMahon Jr., and picked him up, brought him in, and then had him beat the Iron Sheik. And then Hulkamania was off and running after the movie came out, right before the movie. Right before the movie
guess
came
another parallel. Creed 3 would not have. So right now it's the number one movie in America. It's actually it overshot its estimate with regards to its box office.
It made over $50 million.
Yeah, it's at 56 million. It's the highest opening weekend for any Creed film and any Rocky film, which I guess that kind of makes sense and stuff like that. But Jonathan Majors' star.
Yeah.
When the last Creed came out, wasn't what it is now.
Right.
So they kind of capture something really special, which makes like this, this 1v1 between the two of just like, here's the bona fide movie star that Michael B. Jordan is right now, and here's Jonathan Majors right on his heels.
He is on the rise. Jonathan Majors. I mean, obviously he's the villain, the big bad of the MCU. He's been in tons of movies lately.
Lovecraft Country is pretty great.
Lovecraft Country is great. When I saw Last Black Man in San Francisco, I was like, this dude is going to be a star.
He has one of my favorite press moments from doing press on this film. Is there's a guy talking to him and he's like, "Hey, I know that you're a big fan of Homeward Bound." And Jonathan Majors is like, yeah. He's like, I love that movie. He's like, have you heard the theory that at the end of that movie, like when Shadow is limping to the family, like he's dead. And that's like the what we see is Shadow's like doggy heaven. You can see like the fear and the sadness in Jonathan Major's face when he tells him that. And the guy and the interviewer goes,
my face right now? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, it's just a theory. It's not really what it is, but I mean, like, it's a theory.
No, but it makes so much sense.
And the guy goes, "Oh, you didn't know that theory?" And he was like, "No, I did." He's like, "Wait, when he's limping, he's dead?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh my god." And it's just like the human emotion. The other one that I thought was really funny is Michael B. Jordan was doing a press thing, and this guy sneaks in. He's like, "Hey, so I heard you were working with Warner Brothers in this Superman Val Zod mini project," and you can hear a voice off screen go, "He can't talk about that."
Yeah.
And the guy goes, "I had to try." And Michael, he like kicks his head back. He's like, "Hey man, you gave it a shot. Like that's all the you tried." But this is coming off the heels of Ant-Man that didn't do what they wanted, or maybe it did what they thought it was going to do. I don't know. I think Jonathan Majors has a blank check. Yeah. I think he's going to be one of those guys that we're going to see for a very long time. I'm not sure. How old is he?
He's got to be in his mid-30s. He's similar age to Michael B. Jordan.
He's 33.
Michael B. Jordan's 36. Yeah.
Okay. So he's only 33.
Old. He's got to hold the face. He's got to hold the face.
That young.
You know?
I mean, no offense. I mean, he's in great shape and everything, but I just didn't realize that.
Yeah. So I think this is, we talked about, Will Smith in Independence Day or Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy. I think this to me is the star making because he plays two characters. He plays this very like meek and thankful and timid Damien about halfway through the movie. And then as soon as the reveal happens, he's a completely different character.
I loved it. I wasn't sure what exactly was going on, but man, when that reveal comes,
and we also should just say it is Creed has set up a fight between Ivan Drago Jr. and Felix. Drago. And also I was like, why would you put Drago against your guy? Drago's going to eat that guy alive.
Well, because in this movie fantasy world, that Felix guy is intimidating. I don't know.
I guess. I'm sure. We saw what Drago could do in the first movie. Yeah.
His eyebrow bridge is intimidating. I'll give you that.
I mean, I don't get why they chose that guy. Maybe he's a real fighter. I don't know. Drago is a real fighter. Whoever plays that guy, they were looking for the Drago, and they ended up finding a real boxer.
They got one.
That guy is,
who looks like he's not wearing boxing gloves. Like the gloves just look too small for his massive hands. So they're at this party because Bianca has kind of moved away from the Tessa Thompson character, has moved away from performing, and she's producing. And she has this artist who is performing her songs, and they have this party, and there's a fight that breaks out.
She can't perform anymore because she's losing her hearing, so instead she can only attend the concerts.
Correct, because that makes sense. Can't perform them, just stand in a loud-ass room.
It's actually probably quieter on stage.
That's true. Yeah, you can tune everything out.
And I'm like, you're not in Pantera. Like, what?
Yeah, you're not in a death metal band. I think you might be okay.
It's just like R&B. It's like I don't know. I'm not an audiologist, but it seems like you could figure out a way to make that work.
Maybe.
And I guess to set up, before they get to this party, as Damien returns from prison, essentially, he did time for 16 years, got a couple of years added on just with like other stuff, and he comes back to what he knows and seeks out Adonis. And Adonis, it's like he sees a ghost. Like he worked and suppressed this childhood trauma deep down, and that thing is very believable. There's trauma that I've experienced that until it's unearthed, it's as if it never happened. And for folks in my community, especially for Black men, we suffer in silence, and that's the one thing that he just has to really contend with. And it's just something that he did not think would be a reality, because it completely reduces him back to that kid that he was, this angry runner, this guy that didn't know what he was doing. And I think what informs how we perceive Damien is that he's a little underhanded with all of his tactics outside the ring, and particularly inside the ring. The fight that we see when he's a kid and he's a Golden Gloves champion, it doesn't look too devious in the ring. Even when you see like, Lil Duke across the ring, he's like, what is this guy doing? But it always makes it seem like that he will kind of straddle the line between fair and cheap with regards to his fighting style. And that's just what he was. No, he really is. Yeah. Like in that Chavez fight, he works an arm. I'm like, oh, why is that against the rules? Like, I gotta hit him. Like he's picking these places to hit, but I guess not so much to do damage with finesse boxing, technique, but it could end somebody's career because he's trying to like literally disable an arm, right?
Right.
So by the time that you get to this party, and he's already ingratiated himself, he's been to their house before, he's met Bianca, he's very sincere and sweet, like he's just this unassuming man who just happens to be this massive chiseled boulder,
but
right?
He's really conniving in the way he's ingratiated himself into Adonis's life, his current life. Yeah, he's met the family, met the kid, met the wife,
and he's not pushing for it.
No.
He's letting it come to him.
Well,
I think that's the
he
scary part
manufactures
to me.
He lets
Correct.
them
He does engineer
think,
it, yes.
He lets them
Think it's
think that it's their idea. When he's on the car, all right, man, well, I'm going to go just if you ever want to talk or whatever. And then Adonis goes,
He's gaslighting them.
well, wait.
Yeah,
wait.
he is gaslighting him.
What
for
are you
sure.
doing now? Like, he acts like he's going to walk away. He wanted him to invite him in. He wants him. So he keeps inviting himself and making them think it's their idea. And he's gotten so close. And then, you get to this party. And as soon as the guy gets, Nancy Kerrigan, I'm like, there's got to be something more to this.
I feel
like it went from 0 to 60 real quick.
But I do think I think that's a kind of a brilliant setup because I think there is like some sort of little confrontation earlier between maybe Drago and Felix have a little bit of a confrontation earlier. And then, you get some booze in you and you get a little,
You got to get an instigator in there. Hit him!
That's exactly. And then this guy, he hits him with like an axe
or something like that. Yeah.
But it's well orchestrated. It's well done in the film. But I just personally, as the viewer, was like, okay, wait a minute. This is a little too perfect. Jonathan Majors comes back. He wants a title shot. He's been locked up for 20 years. Then all of a sudden, the fight falls apart because the guy gets injured. I'm like, something is up here.
Yeah.
And come to find out, Dane was behind it.
Yeah, Dane set everything
Rashad's
up.
character, go to the, and everybody has like, between Little Duke and Felicia Rashad's character, who I guess would be the surrogates because there's no Rocky in this film, right?
Yeah, and there's no.
And I did not know that there was no Rocky in this film at all till after the film.
Did they even mention him?
He says something about Rock.
Does he say he's with his kid in Vancouver?
No, he does not say that.
They do not mention the status of where he is. So it's like, and because I didn't rewatch Creed 2, I was like, yo, did Rock die in Creed?
Yeah.
No. Which one does he have? Is it Rock in Creed 1 where he has cancer?
The first one is cancer, and the second
one.
he's fine. And at the end of the movie, he visits his kid in Vancouver. So I thought maybe in this one, I swear that they mentioned that Rock was in Vancouver with his kid because that's where he was at the end of the second one. I thought they said it, but
he makes a comment. Maybe he says, "Oh, the comment is like when your dad gave Rocky a shot."
Correct.
But there is no mention of like where he is currently.
Okay,
which I do. I mean, it's very weird.
It's weird.
Well, there's a lot of like rights and litigation that's going on with Sylvester Stallone and the producers from not even just the Creed franchise, but like I guess going way back because he wants the rights fully for himself and he doesn't got them.
Right.
Hey man.
But he still was in the first two Creed movies, and I think he's a producer on this one.
It was a screenplay on the first one. He wrote the screenplay for the first one.
So it's weird for them to completely eliminate him when it's been his franchise. Really, I don't know. It's strange.
Yeah, I miss not having more connective tissue to the Rocky franchise. I think these Creed movies are really strong, and so it's like I think there's a version of events where these Creed movies can live without Rocky, to be clear. But I think for him to go away without addressing it feels hollow.
It needs to be addressed. I will say that I think these films, after rewatching them all, within the same day, they all are good enough to stand on their own. I feel like all three of the Creed films are solid.
Oh man, I thought you meant
nostalgia and fan service for sure.
I thought you meant that you watched all of the Rocky movies and the Creed movies in one day. I was like, how did you do that?
No, watching all the Creed movies, I'm like, these movies are good enough to stand on their own without Rocky. But it's just weird to not have that mention. I feel like by the time Creed 3 hits, they have earned it with these first two movies that we don't need to follow Rocky, but to eliminate Rocky completely.
Yeah.
I just think there maybe could have been a call or something.
They like, I think it's time like to kill Rocky, right? Like I
mean, if they can kill James Bond,
but it needs to be on screen and it needs to drive the
not
action.
The Adrian death, not the Adrian.
Right.
Like the next movie, he's at her
right.
grave.
No, like not that. Like it needs to. He needs to be a character in the film, and something happens, and it drives the action and inspires him to win his best fight ever. Blah blah blah.
Isn't that why he fights Clubber the second time? Doesn't Mickey die?
So
Mickey dies in 3, right?
Mickey dies in 3, yes,
and then he comes back to fight Clubber,
and then Apollo dies in 4, yeah,
right.
And
typically you'll always find deaths that kind of propel the protagonist towards doing something great again. And I wouldn't say that in this film.
we get it in this one for sure.
I mean, I guess technically you do because you have a great death, in Felicia, which I got to say, it's a really incredible scene. There wasn't a lot for her to do, but the fact that she's been hiding letters from Damien from prison, which creates even more of the discontent that Damien has, for Adonis, who he literally saw this young boy run away, and essentially, if it's any true lament that I have on this film, what we see actually revealed in the flashback is not enough for a 16-year charge. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I need to see a bit more.
Well, he does. He
does have priors.
It was like the 3 strikes thing. I'm not saying it's right, but it's because when it's revealed, you're like, you shot him, right? Like you think that he killed the guy, but then
I think so. No,
I also think that there are a lot of people in jail who don't have enough for a 16-year charge.
Yeah. Like, that's true. I'm surprised that wasn't like a storyline. You'd be like, yo, we need to make sure to come to talk about our justice system inside this film.
With the letter situation, I liked how that was handled because the movie kind of sets it up as like, she'd been hiding the letters from him, and so that kind of absolves him. And then Damien takes that away and is like, I don't care that she was hiding the letters. Like we were friends. You could write a letter.
I was at.
Yeah, how about being proactive, bitch? Like,
it's true. Adonis he forgets him. He lets him rot in jail when really he was protecting him. Not saying it was the right way, but like he was defending Donnie, and then Donnie wanted to forget it, that it ever happened, and he existed. So I feel like the villain's backstory, the reason for him to want to come and fight and do all this Machiavellian plot is grounded in a believable story. I thought it was a great backstory. I thought it was very compelling. I thought that the stuff that Donnie had to struggle with again about his past and his decisions and the switch, when the reveal with Jonathan Majors being the villain.
And Creed has like 2 levels of guilt around this, right? He's got the guilt from not having reached out and maintained some form of a relationship with this guy, but he also has the guilt of like there but for the grace of God, right? Like that could very easily be him,
or even even 3 times, right? Because he put Damien in that position.
He did,
and then he put Felix in a position. This guy's the world champ, and he's fighting out of Donnie's gym, and I thought initially that Damien killed him. The way everybody reacted, he doesn't, obviously, because we see Felix at the end.
Which would have been the thing to kind of like really amp it up, okay, we're gonna have to take some time because he needs to like serve a suspension or something like that, because he was definitely doing some underhanded things like inside the ring, and it would kind of like add some pathos as why Adonis would feel like he needs to come back, but having that public.
It would also fix the problem of Damien not being scary enough in the ring.
Yes, right. He killed the guy, right?
Yeah, if he killed or permanently damaged the guy.
But that's what happened with Apollo, right? It's like it would be the same kind of.
I would have it be
some things that are re-brought back, and I think it's fine. I think it kind of like to have that be another added storyline would then serve as another complex issue, because remember, not only were we dealing with like Adonis being the promoter, Adonis being the retired boxer, he's also a dad at this point,
right,
to a young girl who wants to be like him. And like the risk of knowing that he saw his own father die in the ring, he's now put up against a man who has nothing to lose, and all he wants to do is take everything that he feel was robbed from him at your cost. And he was inside your house, he was like, he's weaseling himself, like, especially when that all comes together, like, oh my God, like you sat there and set me up. Like, I want to do this, but like, what happens if you just kill? If you kill Chavez, what if you kill me and then I'm leaving my wife and my daughter alone?
That's the scary part. That is the part where I think the villain really shines. Is now Jonathan Majors done all this stuff and he knows the daughter, he knows the wife. It's scary because you don't know what he's capable of, or rather, maybe you do know what he's capable of, and he is. You think maybe he's willing to do anything to get back at Donnie, and so that's why I thought the villain character was really scary in that way.
I just never felt like Creed was all that scared of him. Like,
yeah, it definitely doesn't look like fear. That's why I said earlier, I think Creed is coming up against himself, really not wanting to grapple with the sins of his past and the shame and guilt that he feels of that. And I think that's what makes the talk that they have post the third act climactic fight that much more poignant. But it does the second act chart like what we've seen in all of the other Rocky films, which is fine because that's what we've been taught to be able to enjoy. Right. And then we get like our training montages. Like, you know what? It's on. You know,
but I will say that Apollo was also never afraid of anyone.
Yeah,
even
Apollo
when he was
going,
anytime when he fought Rocky, he definitely wasn't afraid of Rocky in that first one. He didn't. He wasn't afraid of Rocky in the second one. He wasn't
afraid of Drago, right?
But he wasn't. He had retired by 3, but he wasn't afraid of Clubber Lang. He was afraid that Rocky couldn't make it against Clubber Lang, and he isn't afraid of Drago until he gets into the ring
and he sees the size difference.
Not even that, because remember they go to like bang gloves, and Drago's hands don't move. Boom. And the look on Apollo's face is like, whoa. But that's the first time we ever see him, even when he's getting his ass whooped. There's never a moment where he has a look of fear. Yeah. So I do kind of think that Adonis would also have, pun intended, the eye of the tiger.
Yeah.
Right? He knows he knows he's got such confidence in himself that even when his back's up against the wall, he's gonna win.
Yeah.
And he's not scared of him at that point.
You know, this film is co-written by Keenan Coogler, who is Ryan Coogler's brother.
Sure.
Yep.
And these guys, I mean, I think the writing is so good in this movie with that whole story we talked about and everything, because there's also so much stuff with Adonis, like Joe is saying, and Kolby about looking inward. So not only do you have all this stuff about his past, but now look to the future. He has a daughter that he has to raise, and he's raising her to fight. Where, he's a boxer. That's how his world works. But this girl is now fighting her classmates. She's getting in trouble. And Tessa Thompson's like, this is not the way that we want to raise her. She realizes fighting's not the way. And you look at him and he's like, yeah, totally. Fighting's not good. But he has to realize he's a boxer and she's a kid.
As the father of 2 girls, fighting is just fine.
Yeah. he's like, do you know what paid for this house in the Hollywood Hills?
Yeah, right. Fighting.
I will say, if there was any opportunity to be able to have Rock in there's a scene at the gym where Donnie's up late at night and Amara, his daughter, is downstairs kind of rearranged stuff. She's watching YouTube videos of Donnie's fights. It would have been even better if she was on like a FaceTime with, hey, I just wanted to say I missed you,
pretty
kid.
good.
Or don't tell your dad I've called.
Yeah. Or
that
not even that,
really
have
cute.
him.
Who are you talking to? Nobody.
Yeah. Or have him be like, talking about, they're both watching the fight, right? Where he's like, watch his feet move this way, watch his hand, things.
Because imagine if Slickly,
that's a good call.
He's been like teaching her things, so like when he brings her over to the body bags, it's like, how do you know about this?
Right. That is pretty good.
Do you think we're setting up this? Do you think we're setting up this franchise to be about girl boxers in 20 years?
Oh, absolutely. Let me tell you something. I think Creed's story, and we'll get to the third act shortly, but I think Creed's story is done. And I don't want to have the retread of we get a 4, a 5, and a 6, and then we're like, we got some films that you can take it or leave it. I think Adonis Creed's story's done. I would not mind a time jump in which we now focus on the life and struggle of Amara Creed, right? Being and maybe it's a bit of not only is she going through the women's boxing ranks, but maybe she's the first boxer, not only who's a deaf boxer, but also decides to take on a guy. I don't know. That could be a lot, but this movie's making too much money just to stop. Loosely titled The Amara Conway, a Creed story.
That's a good name.
You heard it here first.
That is a good name. I just the problem I have with going on with her as a boxer is just that like there's no money in that. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like
you can look at
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali's daughter.
Layla
Ali, right? And she was a beast in the ring, but it's just like that's not a.
It's right or wrong. It's just the reality of the situation.
I wonder if they could move. I mean, you obviously can't, but I wonder if they could move this into MMA because that
wouldn't be the same.
It would not be the same. I agree.
It would
not
be the same. Yeah,
but I think women's fighting in MMA is more of a popular thing than women's boxing.
Hey,
and that could be a point of contention maybe between her and her dad, right? Like if you jump this up, 15 years or whatever, I mean, you'd have to age up Michael B. Jordan because he has to be a part of this, right?
Sure.
But then you cast, instead of like this young actress we have here, you get Amanda Stenberg as being his daughter, right? And we kind of see essentially that Halle Berry movie Bruise that we got a couple years ago on Netflix, right?
She could fight Hilary Swank and break her neck.
I mean, we can pull this all together. I'm
if you time jump it enough, she can fight Real Steel.
Oh, there it is. Yes, she could. Or what was who was the other gal? Who's the gal from Fast and the Furious?
Michelle Rodriguez.
Wasn't she in one called like Girl
she
Fight?
Was in one.
There was Girl Fight.
Yeah,
I think that's the movie that got her noticed, right?
Oh, is that right?
I think so. Because girl boxing had a moment there about 15 years ago.
Yeah, until Hilary Swank broke her neck, and that was it.
Man, oh man.
Game
but I mean,
over.
but then it's good. Like, so now we're at a point where we get our classic montages, and so I'm out in LA, right? And I'm like, damn, I want to get to that place where I can run up whatever mountain that is that the Hollywood sign is on, and just look over, feeling all sweat and shit. I will never do it.
I also don't think you can do that. Isn't that blocked off?
I don't think you get he was like 50, 60 feet away.
He was above the O. Like I'm pretty sure
is you can't climb the sign and stuff, but you can go around it.
I don't know where he was at. I thought they stopped people from getting
I don't think you
close.
get there anymore.
Yeah.
You can get for your selfie shots because I have one.
We kind of I was kind of bummed that he gets to in the first one we've talked about how they do not give you that theme until the perfect moment. At the perfect time.
It earns it.
It earns that theme. And I thought in this one, I was like, can you raise your goddamn hands? Like, can you stand on the top of that mountain and put your hands in the air? Like, that's what I need you to do right now. But they don't do it. And I was like, God dang it.
I do love how they take the Creed theme and they reinvent it with every film, and it gets more melodic, more orchestral, more sonic in some places. Like, it's so fun what Ludwig van Göransson did in the first film, and I don't remember the name of the composer for this one, but the theme is just, it makes it feel like an instance of where it kind of stands separate from Rocky, like with that Creed theme. And
but you do get
up until the end.
You do get that swell. You don't get the traditional Rocky theme, but you get the swell when he fight. The fight. Yeah, you don't get that, but you get the da da. Yeah, when he wins at the end. Yeah, spoiler.
At the Draft House, they took all of the montages from the first two movies. And instead of having whatever song they were using in that, they set it to songs by the band Creed.
Oh, that's funny.
And it was pretty hilarious. I think the montage from the second one they did with Arms Wide Open, and I was like, this is hilarious.
So final fight happens. It's really good. The fight choreography and
I think it's
slow
fantastic.
motion. Everything looks really great. I think Colby mentioned it's anime inspired, which I think made
it
fresh
worked
and
for
interesting.
you to remove the audience for you guys, because I know you guys are curious in some instances. Have seen so many boxing fights.
It's cool.
I wasn't too sure how that was going to play, but it felt really good to watch.
Yeah,
no, I think
because he was in his head. They were
It doubles down on the one-on-one. Yeah. Right, you take everybody else. This is me and you. That's it. We don't care about anybody else. It's you and me, and we'll just go from here. So I did like that. Yeah,
it looked good. There's this thing in these boxing movies, and I think you just have to accept it because it happens in all the Rocky movies. It happens in all the Creed movies. Watching again, they're about to lose, and then they can just flip a switch and win. And it's very odd how they can be so beat up, and all they have to do is picture their family or something, and then they get this energy burst. It's this trope that never stops happening, and it's like
it's great
how they find
is it the first one where he's at like a count of 9, and he like takes.
He's on the ground so long that the ref would have been like,
he would have been. Well, one, I love that shot before that 9 count because it's when Damien gives him a body shot, and this is shot on IMAX cameras, and we zoom in as the bead sweat droplets on Michael B. Jordan's back pop off, and it's almost as if you can see Damien's glove protruding through his solar plexus, and it looks so good. I watched it. Did you guys watch in Dolby or IMAX?
I didn't see it in
Oh,
standard.
man.
I saw it on the giant screen, whatever that is, in a B&B.
The big show at the Draft House.
It looked really good though, but it's just it's one of those tropes that going back and watching, like this always happens. They always win when they're about to get beat, and they just have to look a picture of Mickey, a picture of Adrian, a picture of Apollo,
the baby,
of his family.
your daughter being born,
and
that's where
I can win now. It's like,
and that's where in sports films I like it more when it's like, okay, it's a tactical advantage that you gain based off how you studied him. So there was a scene at the beginning of this film in the flashback where like Damien's like, watch this, and you see him do like a particular kind of side move.
He's Sherlock Holmes,
right?
it. Yeah,
like and because we see that being done with Donnie's character against Conlon, the guy that he won the fight in the first Creed film, where he's like, all right, I'm gonna keep taking this hit. He's Sherlock Holmes it and finds that opening. I thought we'd get that again in this one because honestly, he and Damien, they are matched.
I feel like
I think we do though, right?
We do though, because Damien does this weird block where he like puts his hands.
So that's the George Foreman blocks like this.
Okay. And then at the very end, he like breaks through that block.
He sees the hole.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and that's when he finally gains the advantage and wins the fight.
Yeah, when Damien goes to like he blocks and then goes to move his hands to throw a punch, Creed sees the hole, and it's just enough where he gets a straight through the two hands, and then as he's disoriented, he comes with an uppercut and then puts him on the ground.
Yeah, it's good. So Creed wins. He's the champ again, and then they have that really good locker room moment. That
best scene in the
mentioned.
movie.
Yeah,
best scene in the movie.
Best scene in the
movie.
I love
because
that.
it's one of those things where it doesn't come off as melodrama, right?
Yeah.
They've not buried the hatchet.
No,
because it still hurts on both sides. Like even though what Damien did is very underhanded and Machiavellian and just engineered, he's justifiably angry because he lost so much of his life.
I agree.
And he got a shot.
And Creed is living his life, the life that he wanted.
But like Kolby said, he got his shot, and hey, he became the champ. So he did what he said he was going to do, and I think he knows that he doesn't really deserve a long career after all that. But you know what? He was the world heavyweight. He was the unified champ.
Yeah.
And that's
I
don't know how
it
a
was
guy
gonna
that
be
size
weak
won
in-
the light heavyweight title.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
Unified meaning the two weight classes are combined.
Correct. Yeah. So like it was interesting. I almost thought for a second they were like, "Hey, why don't you come? This is as much your celebration." I'm glad they didn't go that route where he's like, "Come to the locker room and like
Yeah, you don't get to be you don't get to get redeemed that fast.
Yeah.
But Michael B. Jordan understands too that he's like, I have a lot to answer for. He knows he didn't handle that right, and so they both kind of got their aggression out towards one another, and they both got what they wanted. He regained the title, and Dame got to be the champ. And like
now the theme of these movies is come Creed 4. Damien's going to be his training.
Fast and
Creed.
Furious, that's what I'm saying. When I saw this, I go, "Oh my god, he's a good guy now." When he
and Drago embraced at that party, and I was like, all right, I'll allow it.
They're all part of the family now.
I guess he could. Drago can be this Rocky 3, not Rocky 3's Apollo in this, right?
But you see that all the time, I think, in the world of sports. Of like, when they're competing, they hate each other. But once everybody's retired,
once we're off the field,
and they look back on it, they don't have typically the same level of animosity.
I'll give you one example.
Unless you played for the Detroit Pistons in the 90s.
And everybody hated you.
I'll give you one example just because, my son watches the YouTubers and everything. That Logan Paul and KSI had this huge rivalry and YouTube fight or whatever. They're now in partnership with this multi-million-dollar drink company.
Of course they are.
They're in business together, but they had a feud and they made millions fighting. So
money changes.
Right.
Yeah, money changes everything. Now that there's so much money to be made, it's like multi-millionaires. We have generational wealth.
Yeah.
What is there to sit here about have bad blood about? It's the same lament that people give like these NBA players. Oh, they're not as tough. Yeah, because they weren't fighting to pay off their mortgages back in the 80s and 90s. These kids, they don't have a lust for like a love of the game because they're making tens of millions of dollars in their first contract.
Yeah.
You know, the money changes
when you're playing in Major
dynamic.
League, when you're in Major League Baseball and you sign a Bobby Bonilla is the one that comes to mind, who's still to this day collecting money from the Mets
for another till 2025, right?
Something like
Yeah, I
that.
think it's another year or two.
Yeah, which is just like, and that dude retired 15, 20 years ago from the Cardinals, mind you. He played here for a cup of coffee.
We didn't mention Michael B. Jordan directed this movie. It's his directorial debut.
Pretty impressive.
I thought he did a great job.
Yeah.
No, the fight choreography is good. The camera movement for all that is good.
I want to back up and talk about that scene between them at the end real quick. It just in terms of, this is something you never see in movies, and you never see two men, especially tough guys, apologizing to each other.
That's fair.
And taking ownership of not only their issues that they brought to the table, but then also they not only apologize to each other, but they also forgive each other in that moment. And like you never really see that in movies, but especially in movies where it's come watch these guys beat the holy hell out of each other, right?
Yeah.
It's healthy.
Yeah, it is. And I just thought, like, what a great way to end the
Well,
movie.
I think it is interesting. I think that there is, and rightfully so, there was kind of like a lot of takes on toxic masculinity, right?
Yeah.
And men, where it's like, you can't be a tough guy. You can't be this because it can be scary to people, and it can be scary to people.
Yeah.
So I do think that this is the next step in like, yeah, I can be a quote unquote, tough guy, but at the same time, I can be in touch enough to be like, I screwed that up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I screwed that up. But if we, I'm going to knock you out. Is really what it comes down to.
I think that's why I really love that scene too. It's really healthy. It's great to show people that you can be competitive, you can be tough, but at the end of the day, you can also be a human being and treat other people with respect and to, admit when you're wrong, apologize, all that.
Yeah. No, and I think Tom, you make a great point, is that I do think that that's something we do not see in action movies or movies. I don't expect John Wick to apologize. Let's put it that way.
And that's a different type of movie. Right? Like that's, but like I don't feel like you'd ever see something like this in a Fast and Furious movie.
Absolutely. You never see this in a Rocky movie.
Yeah.
He apologizes to his son.
I mean, the way that you've got the transporter inside these Jason Statham inside these Fast and Furious movies, they made up pretty quickly.
Well, but it's
not on screen. They didn't.
Not on screen.
Right.
Correct.
That's right. This movie is so well written, and you've got Ryan Coogler's brother writing it, who obviously is an excellent writer as well. It's co-written by him and Zach Balin, so to give him credit. But yeah, you wouldn't see a scene like this in Fast and Furious.
Okay.
You would
to
see,
that
you
point,
would
though.
see
No
a barbecue, and they'd be like, family. That's
no.
the
Look at Hobbs and Shaw. Hobbs and Shaw is a prime example of like, that's toxic masculinity.
Right.
The two of them trying to one up.
Shaw is a romantic comedy. Like those two totally want to each other. Yeah. Like,
but
just
like,
get it over with.
Yeah,
right.
Come on. But I think that is one of those ones that is like, okay, like, yeah, I get it. You're a tough guy. You're a tough guy. We're both tough guys.
Yeah.
You did murder Han. Just putting that out there.
But he didn't.
Surprising.
But he didn't.
No, he didn't. But we didn't know that at the
He
time.
wanted to.
Yeah, he tried to.
He blew up an entire hospital full of patients, of innocent patients, but no big deal.
No big deal. I'm
So
part of the
dumb.
team now.
Well, we didn't give those characters names, so it's okay.
Yeah, they don't count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it was a great way to be able to, well, I guess secondarily end the movie, because then the last scene of the film is that we have he and his daughter in the ring. And if it doesn't, like, that's why I gotta figure there's something with Amara is gonna come next.
It could.
It sure seems like,
It could take a
especially
breath.
as long as that scene lingers.
Yeah.
And maybe it felt like it lingered because I really had to pee, but just full disclosure.
But yeah, but no, I mean, as a girl dad, and my daughter is 10 going on 20, but she'll be 11 in the summer. Like, I saw her in Amara,
Big time.
And I just made me proud. Like when I go to Atlanta to go visit her, I'm like, I can't wait to watch the movie with her because I think this film, like, it's interesting. Like, sports movies have a way of uniting folks in the same way that that professional sports do, for us as a country. Like, it does unite us, and that's why it's #1 at the box office. And it's gonna be a tough month of March, right? It
is not an easy
movies
month
coming out.
No,
it's not.
Man.
I mean, but the thing is like, I don't think the crowd that's gonna go watch Scream 6 next week is going to be like, is going to take away from the box office for Creed. So I can see Creed 3 holding on for a second week.
I think it's going to have a strong second week, but I do think that Scream is a huge.
Is going to.
I think Creed's secret bullet is that there's a lot of older people who care about this franchise because of Rocky who wouldn't necessarily have this movie on their radar otherwise. So I think you'll see it have stronger legs because you'll have an older clientele potentially interested in seeing this movie. Especially
and they don't know that Rocky's not in the movie yet.
Yeah, right. They're going to be super pissed.
Those Tuesday seniors when they're coming in, like, we're about to go see Sylvester Stallone.
But the thing
it's
is,
crazy he's not on the poster this time, but
Yeah, as much as I miss having Rocky in the movie, I also feel like it works without him. I just think it would have been a little better if he was there. But if you're going to see Creed 3, you've seen 1 and 2. I think you're invested enough at this point that you don't feel ripped off if there's no Rocky.
That's what I'm saying. I do feel they've earned it. This movie at this point has earned the chance to get away from Rocky, but Rocky will always be in the DNA to some extent.
And he's the only one that's not back. Right, like everybody else is back.
From Victor
Tessa
Drago's
Thompson,
back.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
okay, but I wasn't really counting him, but Michael B. Jordan and Tessa Thompson and
he was
Felicia Rashad, they're all there.
He was the antagonist of the last movie, and they brought him back to spar, and he was gonna get a title shot, and then he was a sparring partner. Like, to their credit, like they didn't have to bring back Victor Drago, but they did.
Yeah,
should have brought back Dolph Lundgren too.
I think because they're trying to keep that connective tissue. Because the creators of this movie, the creative team behind this movie, they don't have a problem with Sylvester Stallone.
It's the producers, right?
It's not that they didn't want to use him or his characters. I think they're really trying to hold a place to where he can come back and it's not weird.
But his comments haven't helped either. I think he was asked, he's like, what am I supposed to do? Hold his spit bucket? So it seems like it's a little tepid, but
also Rock, you got Rock, like that's his real name. Yeah. Sly, you got your last fight.
Yeah,
you got it in Rocky Balboa, man.
It is time
it made
to
no
move
sense
on.
then, and you found a way to make it work. Like you know what this is now.
I think he's great in the first two.
We all did not have hope for that first Creed movie. We were like, oh,
for sure.
Here we go. Like,
Yeah.
none of us thought it was going to be that. If any hope that we had, it's like, you know what? We believe in Coogler, and there's something special about this Michael B. Jordan kid, but another Rocky movie, and this time it's a spin-off of Creed's kid? Like, come on, that's not going to... And it worked supremely.
It did.
You know what he should do? He should fight in Creed 4, Milo Ventimiglia.
I mean...
Creed.
We all know that
Creed versus Balboa 17.
Oh,
But
Adonis should fight him.
Yeah, Adonis should
I thought
fight.
you said Rocky should fight him.
Oh no! Maybe I did. I meant Adonis. I meant Adonis.
Sly would love that.
Yeah. No, Adonis versus whatever the kid's name was.
Yeah, is good. Robert, as good as these movies are, as good as Sly is, you have to know when to pass the torch. The dude has done plenty of these movies. I don't know why he can't be gracious enough to just be like, yeah, it's my time to be the trainer. Like, I can't keep being the star of these movies.
For sure. There's no version of events. Like, these movies are about boxing, and like it already strained credulity for him to fight in Rocky
Balboa,
6.
yeah.
I know it's not called Rocky 6.
No,
Rocky
but,
Balboa.
yeah.
It made no but they figured out a way to make it work, and it did, and that was a good movie. And honestly, this is a franchise that time and time again, with the exception of Rocky 5, has been good when it really shouldn't have been.
Sure.
Like, there's every time you think, how are they going to get there? They have figured out a way, except for Rocky 5.
It's so funny because that theme was going to come up next week as well.
Yeah. I think this is, and I stated, and then I did some research on it. I was like, oh, I guess that wasn't that bold of a statement. This is the greatest sports trilogy of all time in cinematic history.
Oh.
Just the Creed films.
Now I got it. Wait a minute.
But then I recognized
you
there's
think
not a lot of sports trilogies.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know.
They don't get a lot of sequels. I mean, you've got Rocky is like
Yeah.
Major.
But then if I include Creed a part of the Rocky franchise, I think that this is the greatest franchise in
I
American
couldn't
history.
argue with that. What else?
The greatest
is a better
sports franchise or
franchise?
Well, I guess if you say sports franchise, I think it's a very easy argument. But like, I guess the only one that can come up against it is Star Wars. But the thing is, there's
Lord of
so
the Rings
many
is pretty
not
good,
great.
the first trilogy.
But see, that's the thing, though. It's like, but you have to, if you're going to count Creed as a part of the Rocky franchise,
Yeah.
you have to count The Hobbit as a part of the Lord of the Rings franchise.
then it's
That's
right?
fair.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at that, I'm looking
Yeah.
at, okay, 1 and 2, really, I mean, one of the greatest sports movies of all time. 2, really, really good movie. 3, right? I haven't watched it from what I hear.
It's
4,
good, but it's lesser than for sure.
right? So you have 4, that's like still like another great, film. I hear 5 is not great.
5.
I've never
just
watched
fast forward to the end.
Yeah, I've never watched Rocky Balboa, but I heard that that's good.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then you get Creed. That's a 9 out of 10 for me. Then you get, even though there's a drop off in the second Creed film, I gave that an 8 out of 10, and I gave this one a 9 out of 10. So I'm like, if I'm talking about the dearth of just like the quality of all those films, if you look at like Nightmare on Elm Street, okay, you got 1, 3, and 4.
Now you got
that's-
New Nightmare, but that's a different movie.
New Nightmare, yeah, but it kind of operates in this interesting space, and I'll give Freddy versus Jason too. Like, I'll give that a part of that, right? But Halloween, it's like half of those aren't great, So if I think of all these franchises, if you think about with the 9 films of the Star Wars films,
It's hard to dispute that. I mean, you're not wrong.
It's up there. There's a case to be made for sure.
I would say, even though it's not a franchise I care about, James Bond
Yeah,
is
I
pretty
think they have more
consistent.
hits than misses,
that's pretty
Yeah.
solid. Yeah.
yeah,
especially the last run.
But yeah, I think really, there's only one truly bad movie in this franchise.
It's 5. Yeah.
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 So
So there you go.
But I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at Joey Butts, BUTTS21.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
And Kolby, where can they find you?
yeah, you can follow your boy. I'm on all the socials at Kolby Told Me. That's KOLBYTOLD me on Twitter and IG. And when I'm in the mood to write, you can check out our website at mreportpod.com for my podcast, Minorities Report.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. Find the show online, facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. And of course, don't forget our Patreon. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, Braddock defeats Bayer.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you.